All right, our Secretary of State is meeting with his Chinese counterparts in China ahead of the big G20 summit later this month. Of course, the two leaders are going to exchange pleasantries, we're told, ahead of that. But the actual brass tacks begin later in the month. And we're told that both are working to normalize relations, that China's foreign minister, I believe their foreign minister, Yang, is saying that China's committed itself to working with the U.S. in a non-confrontational way, that a healthy and steady growth in U.S. relations is in the best interest of the world, and that coordination and cooperation should characterize the relations. Now, this is more about security and defense issues, but of course it will touch on trade. To the former U.S. ambassador to NATO, Alexander Vershbow. Ambassador, very good to have you. How do you think all of this is going to go down, and obviously ahead of the president meeting with Xi Jinping himself? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a good thing that the Secretary of Defense, Jim Mattis, is meeting with his Chinese counterpart because there's been some close scrapes between our militaries. Yeah. We've been taking a more aggressive posture in the South China Sea, challenging some of these disputed Chinese territorial claims. So we need to establish some clearer rules of the road and ensure that small incidents don't spin out of control. So I think that sets part of the stage for the meeting between the president and Xi Jinping in Argentina. But of course, the broader relationship is still pretty confrontational. The trade war goes on. While the president said before the elections that there might be a deal, I'm not convinced that we're going to reach an early deal. I think the president overestimates American leverage. The other day he said something that is actually false. He said that China is pouring billions into the U.S. Treasury when in fact it's U.S. consumers and U.S. companies. So the president may not realize that we need a deal as much as they do. We've got to get off this trade war and can find some way to work together.
You know, it's very interesting that Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader, has been assuring business interests in China, look, I've got your back, you need liquidity or cash or something, we're here. I'm simplifying it, but enough to say I'm not about to cave to the United States. And there's a lot of friction that remains. So if this were to drag on, let's say another year, and that isn't such a wild exaggeration, what do you think?
No, I think that's a real possibility because the Chinese, you know, their trade balance is actually getting stronger despite our tariffs.
That's right.
You know, we need them on some of the big geopolitical problems, particularly the North Korean issue, which isn't getting solved despite the president's continued optimism on that subject. So I think both sides will ultimately lose if the tariffs continue to escalate. They just impose additional taxes on our companies and make it harder to you know, find some kind of solution on the real problem, which is the Chinese theft of our intellectual property and mistreatment of U.S. companies. So I do hope that the two presidents, when they meet in Argentina, can at least get some negotiations going. I think China is much less of an enemy than Russia these days. I mean, they still have a stake in the international system, and we should use that, you know, push back on what they're doing that's unfair, but try to find a way to get some kind of modus vivendi with China once again. Real
quickly, Ambassador, I notice in the English version of some of the Chinese press that I've been reading that they pinned the House failures for the president's party on trade and that the president overreached and that this is a Chinese victory. What do you think of that?
Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? I mean, I think it was a factor, but I think there were broader concerns that led to the swing.
It's all marketing. It's all marketing, right? They're marketing that, right?
Absolutely.
All right.
But still, there's a point that we should find a way to climb down on this trade war and focus on the real challenges that we face, which I still think are an aggressive Russia that is still trying to destabilize the international system.
All right, Ambassador, thank you very much.